We've got a series win. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't a sweep, but it happened. Welcome into PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Jamie Lynch, myself, Renee Washington, coming off of a weekend where we saw a little bit of everything. We're going to get into the good and the bad of the Phillies series win over the Nationals. We're going to talk about what's going on with injuries, UCL injuries that are plaguing Major League Baseball. It's a problem, guys. We're going to get into the Eclipse. We're going to talk about Angel Hernandez, just a lot going on. So happy Monday, guys. Hopefully you had a fantastic weekend. I didn't have a chance to check to see who was first, but I see the chat's got some great activity. Matt, Provolone John, Kim, Chris, Barbara, happy Monday. I noticed a lot of people are also, I feel like off today. I don't know if between March Madness and WrestleMania this weekend and everything that went down this weekend sports-wise, people needed a day off, but it felt like I saw a lot more kids and people just walking around the city this morning.
Well, I know a lot of schools had half days. Like some of my friends in New York, a lot of kids had half days.
Is it the Eclipse?
I think it's a like an insurance. Like I think schools got scared off by having Eclipse parties. I'm not joking. You know what I mean? Like because my one friend's school, they were gonna have an Eclipse party at dismissal, and everybody go out on the lawn, and they had glasses for everybody. But the superintendent wind of it and was like, it's too much liability.
Well, because God forbid one kid says like, oh, I dare you take your glasses off. And now some poor 7-year-old is like,
But the Yankees apparently moved their game back because of the same thing. They didn't want people in the stands looking up and them being liable. So I think some kids, my wife in the city, they're having a full day. And she got her students' glasses. So I think they're watching it, but I don't know. But it's got people... I think people's chakras are off today.
I just feel like people are nervous because this is one of those things that doesn't happen often. We were talking about before the show. If you look at the Eclipse, it's apparently going to damage your eyes.
I'm going to go raw dog that Eclipse. I'm going to look right at it like a real man.
Jamie's going to come into bar with his eyes like pointed.
I'm going to get down on all fours and bark. And then I'm going to pee on a tree in my backyard and look right at it.
Wait, why did it? What?
I don't know.
This is bizarre. Just so bizarre. Like, it was great.
Tyler's already shook his head at me 6 times.
Multiple times
already. It actually
was
not great when you said raw dogging the Eclipse. But then I was going to let that slide until you started going very, very left. But it is a little bit...
Well, it was already weird, so I figured I'd lean into it with the bark.
Oh, you leaned fully into the weird.
Yeah, with the barking and the peeing.
But it is an Eclipse. Like, why be normal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
These things don't happen every day. Provolone John, you were first. That also doesn't happen every day.
Wow, he beat Slimmer.
If I got that correct. I know you guys are also talking in the chat about the Phillies this weekend. Look, we're going to break down.
We have to talk about that?
We're going to break down what we saw in this weekend's action. We'll get there. But yes, first things first, please be safe if you guys are looking at the Eclipse. I know Cleveland John. What's up, Cleveland John? I just always get thrown because we have a Cleveland John and a Provolone John.
Cleveland John, I think he's in the direct path. I think Cleveland's like on the 100%.
Oh, man. He said his office is closed today for the Eclipse. So he's stoked to be able to see it and then head over to the home opener. I guess you're going to be at the
like Syracuse
Cleveland
area,
game.
Cleveland, like right along
Dave P is saying the Eclipse is going to turn you into a zombie. So you're going to be peeing on the tree and then you're probably going to turn into a zombie.
That's
and
horrifying
then you're going to be a
children,
dog zombie.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I think some eye damage would be most likely.
Darth is also looking right at us. You guys are going to be great. Listen, if you're looking at the Eclipse, please don't. I don't want to be liable myself. Don't look at it.
No, definitely don't.
But
I don't know what could happen. I don't think your eyeballs like burn out, but don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a chance to.
Because it goes dark.
I mean, you don't think, but you're not going to test that theory.
No.
I mean, I hope not.
I'm not that much of an idiot. I talk like an idiot.
So anytime you're looking at the sun, it can cause eye damage.
Well, sure. But this goes dark today.
That's what I don't understand. So the moon is passing between the sun and earth, which blocks the sun's light. Why would that still cause you to have eye issues?
And the reason this is a big one is because there's total blackout.
Right. That's going to be scary. It's like a horror
And I think
movie.
we have 90% blockage here in Philadelphia. I think the prime time for it is around 3:15, 3:20, but it actually lasts from like 2 to 4:15. So it's like a long window, but the darkest or the prime blockage will be around 3:15.
Okay, so some do say that it's okay. And again, I'm just reading what experts are saying. This is not okay. Actually, I should read the whole sentence. Some say that during a total eclipse, it's safe to view the brief period of time when the moon completely blocks the sun without eye protection. But experts warn against it.
How?
And they're saying it's because
Experts
of the
warn
UV.
against everything.
Yeah, they do. They said it's because of the ultraviolet rays and infrared radiation. So again, your eyes are just going to be in different directions.
Will it give the Phillies some power?
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the solar eclipse is what's going to be needed to help.
Nick and Trey have been affected by the sun.
Right.
Something is off in the balance.
And it's going to reset.
Today it'll rewrite. Okay. Phillies are in baseball heaven. Ergo, Phillies are back.
Okay. Sure.
I think that
let's talk
tracks.
about this weekend then. Yeah, let's get into this because get into it. You don't know that song, but
no,
it's okay.
No, I do not. Should I?
No,
probably not.
No. So this weekend we saw the Phillies have a chance to sweep, but they did not. They dropped the game on Sunday. We got some good, and let's start with the good, Jamie. I know,
it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
There were a lot of things to take away from this past weekend. I have tons and tons of notes, starting with the fact that first and foremost, we did get the Phillies reaching the 500 mark. And last year, they actually didn't reach the 500 mark until mid-April. So here's a positive for you guys, for everybody that's ready to hit the panic button because of the fact that the Phillies are 4-5 and not looking so hot. Okay, the Phillies at least already eclipsed a mark.
I see what you did there.
Eclipsed the mark from last year because it took until I think it was like April 17th that they reached 500 for the first time last season. So there's a positive. Better than last year. Another positive is the fact that I thought JT Realmuto.
He's been an extreme positive.
Really good. I have the numbers on him were pretty remarkable.
Biomechanics lab. I'm a big believer.
You are.
I mean, the guy put in.
He did, and he talked about that.
This is a great example of putting in the offseason work. And look, not everybody starts out, strong. Maybe. Well, it's baseball. He's going to have a downturn to this.
Yeah.
But the stuff he put work in on is really bearing fruit right now. And he looks really good.
So JT talks about how this offseason, he's, as we had known, been putting in some work on his hitting. Obviously last year he was hitting, anywhere between 5 to 7 in the order. This year he's in the cleanup spot behind Bryce. Walk Bryce all you want. JT smashes a 3-run homer. But as Rob was mentioning, JT shortened his leg kick a little bit. That's giving him better
biomechanics lab was,
which is giving him better timing. He's getting his foot down. He's not as inconsistent as he was in the past, which is making him more ready to hit and helping him overall. And then JT has mentioned that his swing just feels like it did from 2018 to 2019, back when he was putting up some really big, impressive numbers with the Marlins and the Phillies, and that he's just been more, with those adjustments he made, with his return to the top of the lineup, he's feeling good. He's had his batting average at around a 333 with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, a 935 OPS this season. And we know last year he batted a 252, 762 OPS last year. So it was his lowest batting average in OPS since his rookie year in 2015. But he really spent this winter trying to figure out how to get back, how to get to a better position to hit. And the adjustments are so far working. Obviously, it's still very, very early in the season, but there's a positive. He's like, this is exactly what he said. The biggest difference is my swing direction, my approach, staying to right center and trying that swing path. Anytime I start looking in or cheating to pull, that's when things go south for me. My front hip leaks early. If my direction is good and to right center field, that's when I'm at my best. And I feel like I've been able to do that more consistently. So he's even got it down to a science around the little movements he needs to make to be consistently hitting well. And so far, JT looks good in the cleanup spot. I like him there. I like what he brings, and he's just steady.
Yeah, I mean, he's not your prototypical 4-hole hitter by most standards, but he's a great hitter. He puts in the work, as we all see here. And, look, that home run on Saturday was great.
Oh, it's beautiful.
When you were saying all that, God, being a professional baseball player must be so hard. Because, that's kind of like what you go through with a golf swing a little bit is all right, front foot, lock your arms, head down, rotate your hips, get through the zone. and it's so much to think about in such a short amount of time. I can't, and that's a still ball.
Yeah.
To think about all that and like keeping your hip and your step, and I know it's muscle memory and they get it down and they just get in a groove, but like it sounds like he's thinking about so much. God, it's got to be tough.
Well, I think about it. It's the same way in soccer. You know, you had the same exact type of motions and movements.
But somebody's not throwing you a 98-mile-an-hour sweeping breaking ball.
There's a ball moving and people bumping you. So there's at least you don't have contact.
Hitting a baseball is objectively harder.
I'm not saying it's harder or easier because there's different variables.
It's easier.
There's different variables that changing.
Everything in sports is easier than hitting a baseball.
No, I'm literally not. There's no way to compare because it's a different type of sport.
Yeah, you're right. There's no way to compare because hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do. You have people that are bumping
into you while you're trying to kick the ball or head the ball. In baseball, it's you and.
I'll just let you have this.
Okay, the point that I'm trying to make. Is that in soccer, there are the same issues of the mechanics, like where your hips are, where your toe is facing, which part of your foot. You can hit it with your big toe or your pinky toe, and you get a totally different thing. So being able to consistently get the mechanics down.
The old toe ball.
Being able to get the mechanics down of where your shoulders facing, your head. Like every part of your body affects where the ball is going to go and how you're going to strike it. If you're going to have it curve, bend, dip, knuckleball. So as I was reading that, I was like, it actually makes sense because you do want to get to a point, regardless of the sport, regardless of what's more quote unquote difficult. The important thing is getting to a point where you don't have to think about those mechanics. And you know, this is how I'm going to line up. This is what I'm going to do consistently. And now it just becomes more routine. So the comparison is about, because now in the chat, WYRM's like ridiculous comparison. The comparison is not, it's like a weird, there is no comparison. It's like comparing basketball to soccer to baseball. It's
Nothing
all different
compares
mechanics.
to hitting a baseball. It's impossibly hard.
But hitting a baseball, like kicking a soccer ball, does require mechanics that need to be, because you're annoying.
Walking out of the studio, going to the lobby requires mechanics.
No, but it's the same. Like what he's saying is the same for soccer. Your hips, your shoulders, like where you're facing.
Yeah, and then some guy's throwing 100 miles an hour at you and throwing an 85-mile-an-hour breaking ball. And you have to adjust to that in, 0.2 seconds?
Do we want the actual science behind this?
Or do you have it?
Once a hitter decides to swing, the quickest swing happens in about 100 to 150 milliseconds. You also have to figure the fact that it takes about 100 milliseconds to process the ball leaving the pitcher's hand. You have literally like hitting a baseball scientifically should be physically impossible.
Yes.
And the fact that it happens is insane.
Yes, and to think about you have to get in a groove, you have to be thoughtless. To your point, you have to be thoughtless.
To my point. Thank you, Barbara and Darth, that are like, I'm getting trolled right now, and Barbara understands me. It is actually the same. Literally what he's saying.
Yes, all sports have mechanics involved with them.
But the actual wording of what he's saying is literally what you do in soccer.
Yes, but they don't have time to think about it. In soccer, you actually
have time to think about it.
You have a little time to think about it.
No, you don't have time to think about it. Oh, because the defender and the goalie is going to give you time to like pause and think? No. It's the same as in baseball. You don't have time to think. Everything is quick, and it happens in 0.2 seconds where you have to, ball's there, and you have to make a decision, and you don't think about it. You have to know, much like he's saying, the swing path.
I'm just going to let you have
hips,
this one.
where your hips are. Your hips can't leak early. Your hips can't be dipping. When I dip, you dip, we dip.
Yeah.
You can't, your shoulders, your hips, your feet, your legs, all that is important, but you have 0.2 seconds to get your entire body in line to properly
the knee
strike
bone's
the ball.
connected to the ankle bone.
No, it's not.
Your tibula and a fibula.
What, you got no leg?
It's knee bone.
Anyways,
fibula,
all
the tibula.
that to say, what I understand and what JT's mentioning is he's getting consistent, and now he's getting at a point where he knows.
I'm sorry for
tweaks.
ever bringing that up. How hard it is to do what he's done.
Do you know how hard it is to make a ball have to bend and dip and move, and a knuckleball, which is literally no rotation on the ball?
Tyler?
It's the same as, Jesus, I'm so triggered. So overall, it's great that he knows these little movements because I can relate that in soccer, much like in baseball, you now know, okay, I hit that one or I missed that one, and this is why. And now the next time you're at bat or up to shoot, in my soccer metaphor, you now know exactly what needs to be done. So I love that JT is having this opportunity to take a step back and break down every bit of his swing, and it's paying off. And JT, I'm going to ignore JL. I'm glad you are.
I mean, what you're saying can be applied to every sport, though.
I know, but I just picked soccer because that's my sport.
Yes, but
it's the same thing about basketball because basketball is the same. Do you want me to go through basketball?
No,
Should I go through hockey?
I think we covered mechanics.
Should I go through football?
Yeah.
And how you throw a football
and muscle memory.
Where you're leaving the ball's leaving your hand.
You want it coming off the tip of your finger last.
Yeah, I mean, I could break it down sport by sport, but I won't. The other part of that is, we've seen his pop.
Yeah.
Which looked good. What was it? A 1.83 pop. I lost my notes now because you've got me off track. It was a 1.83 pop time in that throw to get out to fifth that he made. That was on Saturday. That play to Bryson Stott, which got the out at second. Nunez got out on that play. It was the hardest ball he's thrown this year. It looked good. I mean, we talked about JT's ability to get good hits, but then also as a catcher, reading the game, of course, the stolen bags, the amount of stolen bags that the Phillies have given up is one of the worst in Major League Baseball right now. That's not great, but
they're really good at some really bad categories right now.
Yeah, there's a few categories that the Phillies are literally worst in the
stranded runners. They're really like leaning into the being bad at certain things so far. It's good.
The Phillies have allowed 13 stolen bases this season, the second most in Major League Baseball at the end of Sunday. So that's great.
That's something you got to work on.
Lovely.
That's as much of a pitcher issue as it is a catcher issue. I think, look, JT, I think Tyler, you might have been one of them, had some slight fears that last year was the start of his downturn.
Not defensively.
Not defensively, offensively.
And he's proven me wrong so far. He's been really,
and I think
really
that's
good.
why we bring it up as one of the goods. It does not look like that at least is going to happen with JT. He looks like he's figured some things out, and I think they'll figure out the stolen bases thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they ran all over them, the Phillies last night, and quite frankly, I'm not so sure I'm blaming much, if any of that, on JT.
I didn't stink. They got nothing to lose.
Well, not only that, but I didn't think any of the Phillies pitchers held any runners on particularly well.
Sure.
And specifically with Christopher Sanchez,
was he even looking in their direction?
Being left-handed, you have that extra ability to hold a runner on, and I didn't think he did a very good job at it. Now, granted, I don't think Sanchez pitched particularly well yesterday, and I think he was so focused on pitching that I think the base runner mentality slipped a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you could tell he was not hitting his spots. The changeup wasn't as sharp as it was in the first game, whereas it was for much of last year. He went to the sinker and the fastball way, way more, and the Nats jumped on it because of the fact that he wasn't hitting his spots. But I think all of that plays into the fact that I don't think any of the Phillies pitchers did a particularly good job of holding runners on.
Yeah, I mean,
yesterday.
So far this season, JT has, when he was at catcher, there's been 5 stolen base games this season. And prior to that, he had never allowed more than 4 in a game before. And as you mentioned, it's not all on JT, and I'm not blaming that. But, for the fact that the Phillies right now are number 2 in the league in stolen bases, which is something that was an area of concern last year down the stretch that we remembered. The Phillies were not able to pay attention. How many times do we see, whether it's Craig Kimbrell or whoever, late in the game giving up stolen bases, and it ended up being costly? Now, it is something that I don't think is it's so early in the season. I'm going to play devil's advocate and be positive Patty and optimistic Olivia and say that it's okay, that I'd rather get the Phillies having these errors early in the season versus late. So last year we saw down the stretch, all of a sudden the Phillies started giving up stolen bases in costly moments. Okay, now you're starting off the season that way, which some could say is a carryover, but we're not. We're going to still remain positive. Getting these issues out the way early, that makes them have to refocus, emphasize on being aware. Pitchers need to be more aware. JT or Gerrit, whoever's there, needs to be aware of who's stealing bases and make sure you're cutting back on it. So I'm going to go with the stolen bags, the base running, some of these issues.
The base running is,
you're getting it out early, and now you can make adjustments because it is still only April.
I mean, it can't get worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to go with.
I mean, when you see a 2-time MVP getting picked off between third and home because he tried to go on somebody rounding first, and that just can't happen. Kyle Schwarber can't be
bad.
He misread that one off the bat yesterday. I think he thought Harper smoked it into the gap, and it wasn't. And I think that one didn't bother me as much as Harper getting in a rundown between third and home, because I think Schwarber just misread that. I don't think that was trying to be overly aggressive per se. That one I can kind of excuse. Some of the other ones I went, man, that's inexcusable stuff. So they got a lot to get better at. It sucks to kind of complain a little bit after taking 2 or 3, but the Nationals stink, and there's really, I mean, if it's not for Edmundo Sosa yesterday, that offense was pathetic. Edmundo with a big day.
I know, and it doesn't look like they're ready for when it's game time. But you know where you can be ready where it's game time? It's with the Game Time app, because the Game Time app has a great offer for you as we are in the early parts of this season, where they've got an offer for you that runs through April 14th, where if you use the code FIRSTPITCH, you get $20 off your first purchase. You can download the Game Time app, use that code FIRST. It is spelled out, FIRST. PITCH, First Pitch, gets you $20 off. You always can, of course, use the code PHLY that's on the bottom of your screen to also get $20 off. And with that $20 off of your purchase, it allows you to be able to shop for some already great low price deals for concerts, games, comedy shows, whatever you're looking to buy tickets to. I know, Jamie, you've recently used the Game Time app. It does make it a lot easier.
You guys all want to go rage tickets at Raffy?
Let's do it. And we
Banana
can do it with the
Phone
Game Time
live
app.
in person?
Yay! I can't
Banana
wait.
Phone slaps, Renee. It slaps real hard.
Okay, so with the Game Time app, as an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, getting tickets can be even faster. You want to get some tickets to go watch the Phillies play, you want to get some tickets to go last minute, they've got you covered. It can be frustrating finding tickets. It can be frustrating figuring out where are these tickets located. Well, that's not a problem with the Game Time app. They show you your seats. You have a nice view of the field, the stage, the stadium, the arena, whatever you're looking to buy tickets to. And then also when you show up, your tickets are there on your phone, easy to scan, gets you right in the door without the stress of shuffling through your purse or your wallet for tickets, trying to have your Wi-Fi work so you can pull up your tickets on your phone. Game Time app makes it easy to browse for tickets, find good seats, and then get in and enjoy it. So again, use that code FIRSTPITCH, FIRSTPITCH, to get $20 off of your purchase at the Game Time app. That is now through this week, actually. You guys have a little bit of time left to take advantage of that deal before it runs out.
Yeah, Game Time rules, and you know what else rules? Our local sports book. Stop supporting those big name books that have nothing to do with our area. Bet Parks Sportsbook supports our area. They employ a ton of people in the area, and they should be your destination for sportsbook. Right now, the Phillies tonight are a slight favorite at -109 over the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll see if John Kruk actually climbs the arch this trip or not. Probably not.
I think somebody asked T-Mac the other day. They said, he goes, is he getting to the arches this week? And T-Mac responded, I don't know, maybe the golden arches.
Well, the Crucker was at WrestleMania last night. But if Bet Parks, who knows? Maybe they'll have odds of John Kruk getting to the arches finally. They got a ton of stuff. The over-under tonight is -9. Of course, you got the NCAA finals tonight, Purdue and UConn. UConn is a 7-point favorite. You got a battle of the bigs there tonight with some 7-footers going at it. Should be a good game. They had a ton of action this weekend with the women's Final Four. Great game last night.
Gamecocks!
Yeah, Dawn Staley is a beast. This is a fact. But Bet Parks has you covered. You can get in the zone with the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. Money is in the moments. Win big with all-day action, and if you win your first $10 bet, you can earn $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet with Bet Parks. Download the app and play along. Must be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. Well, as you were starting to hit on Edmundo Sosa, we definitely talk about him, but even getting back to... Before we talk about him, I feel like maybe we should layer the good and the bad. Maybe instead of all good and then all bad.
I have one more good.
So okay. I have more good too.
Oh,
so I want to
look
sprinkle
at
in the
us.
bad though, and the bad is the base running as we were talking about. But I did want to say there was a nice. Again, I'm gonna stay on my positive patty because you know what? I was negative about the Phillies and the Philadelphia Union and the Sixers and everybody, all things Philly.
Sixers are back.
And Sixers are back. The Union are the last undefeated team in the MLS.
Is that 4 in a row for them?
3 in a row for them after I've been getting on them, and they've won 3 in a row, and they're, the only team undefeated across the league. And the Phillies are not as bad as I saw that stat that they didn't reach 500 until like mid to late April last year. We're ahead of the curve right now. So there was, as we know, we've been talking a lot about the base running. It hasn't looked great. It looked questionable, but I know Kyle Schwarber did come out and he was saying how, we all know we have to improve on our base running. We know it hasn't been where we want it to be, but we want to keep the aggressive thought in our head because we want to take the extra 90 feet whenever we can. That puts us in a good position. And for me, in all reality, that ball in the third, he probably would end up going to second base anyway, not third. But we're going to learn from the mistakes while keeping the aggressive mindset. And much like I said earlier about the stolen bases, I kind of reframed my perspective about the base running in that the Phillies right now, and as Rob Thompson, they're encouraging them to be more aggressive. And we know there's been times where the Phillies, last year in the playoffs specifically, that jumps out, were not being as aggressive and holding up at second or third instead of going on and going. And so I think it's okay because you do have to find that balance, as Rob was talking about, which is tricky. If you go too far the other way and harp on your base running's trash, you're just going, you got to be smarter. Now they're going to be hesitating. And you can't play sports hesitant. You can't play second guessing yourself. Much like we talked about with mechanics. It's the same thing with base running. You cannot play hesitant. So I think if they're encouraging to be aggressive and to go, these early season blunders will pay off down the season, much like we saw, as we talked about Dawn Staley, great example, with South Carolina. They had their early season blunders on the defensive end and different things. They worked through it. And as the season progressed, they remained undefeated the literally entire season. Iconic. But as the season wore on, that's why their freshmen, for example, were able to contribute because they had already worked through those early season hiccups. So I'm going to change this and be positive in that the Phillies, we want them to be aggressive. We don't want them holding at second and third. They've got guys like Trey who are fast. Slim Schwarber, like Slim Shady, get it? Slim Schwarber is quicker. His knee's better. He's moving faster. The speed is there for the Phillies. Go. I'd rather you go and fail versus not trying. And that's something that I think is okay. It's going to work out. So I'm going to take a step back. I see what they're talking about. Trey was mentioning they're all out of sorts. Rob was talking about, Kyle was talking about. It's going to be fine, guys. Everything's fine. This is fine.
I hope. You talk about being out of sorts. I just saw this from the Matt Gelb piece about the base running. And Tyler, to your point, I agree with you. I think the pitchers have a hand in this. I don't think it's JT's like pop time disintegrating, but teams aren't as afraid. To your point about the Phillies not running, like run. Like it's in the favor of the runner now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not just JT that they're running on more.
So like
everybody's running more.
Send them. So the Nationals stole 5 bases against the Phillies, Renee. JT has been behind the plate for 2 games this year where they stole 5. Did you read this?
Yep.
Oh, I
sure did.
That. I'm sorry. But he'd never been more than 4? That's unbelievable. So, yes, your points were all very good because I was reading the exact same points that you were saying at the exact same time you were saying them. So good find there. That's good work. But, yes, it'll turn.
It's fine. I said that before the ad read, actually.
Oh, okay. Because I was just reading it when you were talking. I thought you said it just then.
No, it's fine.
That's on me. I was reading during the show. You know, that's on me. I'll take that one.
Jamie doesn't listen when I talk.
No, I do. I just was reading.
No, but it is a really wild thing when you think about, like, prior to this season, JT had not had more than 4.
We used to literally go like, don't you run on him, you idiots. And now teams are running on him.
Exactly. And I know Barbara said it in the chat. Like,
Rob, send Bryson. Send Trey.
Mm-hmm.
If Yoro's still playing in a little while, send him. Like, you have 3 speedsters. Send them. You know, like, make them make the play.
Right.
And pitchers have a lot mentally going on now with the pitch clock and whatever, and they're trying to blame that on injuries. We'll get into that. But, like, be a little more aggressive right now when your team is kind of looking for a spark.
Exactly.
I'm all for it. Send them.
Listen, taking those gambles is what leads to, like, as you get more confident just going. As we know, it's a split-second decision. And if you're just going versus hesitating, yes, sometimes people, and I know in the chat I was seeing Jason, you were mentioning there's a difference between being aggressive on the bases and making bad baseball decisions. But to be honest, I think what's the biggest difference is when you get caught. Because if you make a bad decision and you get to the bag before they tag you, nobody's gonna say that was dumb. Oh, but you made it. No. Now it's you were aggressive and it worked.
Yeah.
So there's like a fine line between being a bad decision and being a good decision. It's all a matter of if you make it or not. So if you guys are just going to put your head down and go.
Tyler, can you look this up? I don't want to read and get buried in stats and ignore Renee again. The caught stealing rate over the last like 2 or 3 years.
I think ignoring Renee would imply that you were listening to begin with.
Well, I mean, 98% of the time I do, but my dumb brain can't read and listen at once. But if you can look up, I'd be curious at the caught stealing percentage rate over the last
and I know
2 or
Matt
3
brings
years.
up another point because
prior to pitch clock versus this new era.
Here's another stat for you, Jamie.
All right. I'm all ears, Renee. Go ahead.
Matt brings up in the chat. I did read this. I think it was Todd's piece that was saying this. The Phillies have been caught stealing 6 times this season, and they've made 6 other outs on bases, and both of those numbers are the most across Major League Baseball. Woo. So 2 other, fun facts for us, you guys. Pew, pew, more stats.
This is the stuff that's correctable. Like Nick Castellanos looking lost in the box. He's gonna have his hot streak. So I don't want to say it's not correctable, but like these are the things that are very correctable. This is where Rob Thompson needs to nip some shit in the bud. And like, I'm not saying you bench Bryce Harper or Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
But if Johan Rojas comes in as a pinch runner and gets thrown out in a crucial situation in scoring position, that's where you go the old Charlie Manuel, hey, Jimmy, you got to take a seat, man. Like, that's not how we play baseball here. So I think Rob needs to be a little more stern with some guys. You can't do it with your superstars, obviously. Yeah. Or you can, but you're not going to do it every time. So, like, I think Rob needs
There's a way to do it.
To flex a little bit here and get these guys.
So, among qualified catchers last year, and I don't know what the qualification is. We can make it literally any amount of throws that we want, but the qualified, according to baseball,
probably 100 innings, right?
Well, it's amount of throws. It's not innings caught. Okay. So I don't know what qualified is according to Baseball Savant, but the highest caught stealing rate amongst qualified catchers last year. You guys want to take a guess? It's not JT, but you want to take a guess?
At what
What's
catcher?
At catcher. Percentage-wise.
Oh, percentage.
Yeah, percentage of caught stealing. Do you guys want to take a guess? Either A, who it is, or B, what the number is?
I'm going to say, I don't know who it is.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
So it's 48.
Is it a young? Is it an older guy?
No, it's a younger catcher. If 48% is
I was gonna say 43.
The highest caught stealing percentage. It was Gabby Moreno.
Oh, he actually came to my mind, but I went, no, it's probably not.
Last year, at the same rate, JT Realmuto caught about 22% of the catcher or the runners that he saw, which was good for tied for 21st. He and Adley Rutschman both threw out 22% of catchers that they saw.
Adley.
Now, granted, this is based on qualified attempts. So some of these guys have higher throw-out rates, and they've only seen 23, 24, 25 attempts, whereas JT Realmuto saw 63, which looks to me to be about top 5 or 6 amount of throws to second base based on just a quick search on the guys that I'm seeing. But, like, for example, Francisco Alvarez last year saw 67 runners at second base. He threw out 12%. Keibert Ruiz, and granted, this is maybe unfair to Keibert Ruiz because we know defensively he's not a good defensive catcher. He saw 86 runners go to second base. He threw out 7% of them.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, last year the highest was 48%, and the average caught stealing rate was 31.
Okay. All right.
Well, I know in the chat, just to give some love to some of the comments, Frank Dingus, what's up, Frank?
Dingus.
You're saying, but we all know the manager isn't going to change anyone's positions. He refuses to make any changes. I know Matt's kind of coinciding on that too, saying that we saw these mistakes all last year, and you're pushing back on this that this is a correctable thing because you're feeling like we haven't changed. Randy, you're also saying Topper only manages the bullpen arms. Everyone else does what they want. Listen, I know, and then Ray, Darth, and Jason, you're making some other thoughts regarding around the league things that we'll get to those around the league comments about Strider and different people. And good morning, Jay. You're right on time to weigh in on the conversation because I do feel like these are correctable, and I just want to make sure, like, we're saying it now in April. We should not be saying it still, come summer.
June,
yeah, like
May
by this summer. Like I feel like on this early April, we've been having these conversations about Johan, the base running, stolen bags, these different things, the overall offensive production. We should not still be talking about this come June.
Renee, like when I was out on the porch yesterday and I see like a base running error or something, and I shouldn't feel like I have to go grab a Miller Lite just to ease my calm or calm my fears. The base running errors, though, they do make, and the lure of the Miller Lite yesterday, I wasn't planning on having a cold, delicious, refreshing Miller Lite in the sunshine, but it got really warm out. My cousin and his wife came down with all the kids, and they were playing in the backyard. I had the TV going. The sun was shining. I was like, God, that Miller Lite's going to taste good. So what did I do? I went down to the fridge, and I grabbed me the original light beer since 1975. And a lot has changed over the years, but the great taste of Miller Lite has not. It was the original light beer, and still to this day, it's the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste you want, and they leave out all the stuff you don't need. Because, look, it's summer. That means we can't hide under these hoodies anymore, boys. We got to stop. We got to drop those high-caloric beers and just get with the 96-calorie Miller Lite per 12 ounces, the original light beer. You know, just by the pool, by the beach, a Miller Lite makes sense. You won't get bloated. It's just cool and refreshing and delicious. A light beer that tastes like a beer should. Less filling and only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. And times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. You can get Miller Lite delivered directly to your door. Just go to MillerLite.com/PHLY Phils, or, you know, pretty much anywhere that's respectable and sells beer will have Miller Lite waiting for you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces.
All right. I knew you put on your ad reading voice. I knew you were going there. I was picking up on what you were putting down. And if you guys want to pick up on what we're putting down here at PHLY, you can become a PHLY diehard. There are about 50 plus people in the show right now. First of all, jump in the chat if you're watching right now. Give us a comment, hit that thumbs up button, join the conversation, but also know that even outside of our live shows, you can also interact with us in many ways. We've got our diehard fantasy baseball league right now. Some of us are sitting at 2-0.
I was going to say, here it comes, 2-0 talk.
Some of us
you
are
and Zach Berman are 2-0. We got it.
Top of the league in points and standings. I wonder who that is. Will it be the Bryce Betts R-Wash squad? Indeed. And then also we have other events. If you missed out on the fantasy baseball opportunity, don't you worry. We've got more. We've got live shows. We're down at Bet Parks having our pregame watch party and postgame show. We also have tons of events that we're going to be doing, and we're just honestly getting started. So the great thing is you can head over to allphly.com. You can check out our articles. I know our writer, John Foley, just dropped a great Phillies article recapping the weekend. We also have, more opportunities for you to be able to engage with us.
Did you see what Vince is doing in the diehards? He's sick. He's making a Eagles draft game, and the winner is going to get a pair of Eagles tickets next year.
There you go. We're giving out tickets. We have a lot of ticket giveaways. In fact, we gave out tickets for the return of Rhys Hoskins to Philly. We gave out tickets for opening weekend. We're giving away tickets. We're giving away some great Miller Lite specials and different deals. And then, of course, as Jamie was alluding to, in our Discord channel, you can also chat with us. Whatever channel you want to jump into, we've got every sport, every league. If you want to talk mechanics, movies, drinks, we've got all different types of things there for whatever you want to chat about. Plus, you get opportunities to check out our merch. You get discount on our merch. We did have some recent Phillies merchandise that dropped and some t-shirts around the start of the season. And Jamie modeled it for us.
Sunday fun day. This is Frank's shirt. But you can get it on allphly.com.
Yeah. Nice. All right.
You can find me on OnlyFans.
Check out all the great things that we've got going on. Events, merch, articles, shows, VODs, things you can check out at allphly.com. All right. So all of our lovely Phillies fans and sports fans, we've been talking about the good and the bad. And before we wrap up on the Phillies, I want to give you a chance, Jamie, to hit on whatever your final positive nuggets
Kyle
are.
Schwarber.
Okay, that was one of mine too. Great.
Yeah,
Lead
Kyle
us off.
Schwarber is having a good start to the year. I did not expect that. And one of the most encouraging things was a little nugget from Todd Zuli's newsletter, how he's performing against lefties this year. Kyle Schwarber is batting .438. And now, granted, small sample size, 7 for 16 against lefties this year. Last year, in 207 at-bats versus lefties, he only got 39 hits. I don't know how good at math you are, Renee, but that's a 188 average. So, look, he's not going to maintain a 430-plus average versus lefties all year, but the fact he's, like, tripling it in a small sample size is a really positive step. So, Kyle Schwarber is one of my positives from the weekend. I think he looks good. He looks a little quicker on the base pass. His knees are getting a break from the field, and he's hitting lefties. So, Kyle Schwarber's him and Realmuto are and Harper more or less.
Yeah.
They've been the bright spots. Everybody else, and Brandon Marsh. Everybody else has kind of been too bad.
Well,
good job, Schwarber.
I remember us talking about on the show, when you move to be a DH and you have the ability to just focus on one half of the game, you don't have to focus on being in the outfield, how it can help or hurt depending on who you are. And for Kyle Schwarber, you can see the benefits of it. Obviously, that knee injury he had been nursing and the inflammation he dealt with drastically does affect, as we keep talking about, mentally, if you are always having to think about that. But also he mentioned how he's just been, focusing more on putting himself in a better position at the plate, getting himself in the mindset needed. He's hitting the ball in the middle of the field a lot more. He's staying in his swings. His legs look good. And also, he's not just hitting home runs. He's single Schwarber. He's knocking down a lot of singles. And he's just, for him, focusing on
Schwingles, as John Sequela calls him.
Yeah. And for him, he's like, he doesn't want to be someone that's a sub 200 hitter again. He's like, that's not his goal, guys.
Thank
he
you.
wants to be.
Hashtag thank you, Kyle.
I'm like, oh, Kyle.
That's good.
Really? You didn't enjoy that? But he does want to be over 200. But to do that, he wants to be consistent, drive the ball, make contact, and also just be more consistent driving it out to center field. And I think Kyle Schwarber's looked good. He's moving better. Again, going into Saturday to have 8 hits, 6 of them being singles, 2 of them being home runs. And also the fact that we saw him steal a bag. We've seen him getting to base. He's looking much better. And I'm glad. I'm happy for him. And I'm glad because so many of us, ourselves
so
included, have talked about him in the leadoff spot and how slow he starts off seasons. And he's proven us wrong in both categories. He's shown he's fine at the leadoff, and he's also fine at the start of the season. And now it's time for some other people to prove us wrong.
I would like for him to hit with people on base more, but that's another issue.
I know. Well, that is a whole other issue. But also, on the other side, I know we did touch on Edmundo Sosa. To see him Sunday
really
come out and produce, and you look at the fact that there was a lineup change. Ironically, people are like, oh, no, Rob, why would you change up the lineup and have Witt and Edmundo in the lineup? You have a chance to sweep the Nationals. Go ahead and sweep them. And then the full irony is, A, they still lost. But B, it was not because of Sosa or Merrifield.
No.
In that game yesterday,
Witt's been a little lost, though.
I mean, he did. But Whit Merrifield at least hit some singles, stole second, scored on Sosa's 2-out single in the second. And then, of course, Sosa had the solo homer in the 5th. Plus, he looked good, 2 for 2.
But these days off are probably, like, the first month of the season is probably mapped out.
It is.
Like, I don't think this is like a conscious decision where Rob's like, oh, they've known probably for like a week that these guys were going to get a blow.
Am I allowed to bring up soccer again? Because I'm going to. Because the reason that when Bryce sat out game 3 of opening weekend, and everybody was like, oh, it's because he's secretly hurt. Why would Rob sit him out? When Bryson was given a break, when Brandon even sat out.
26
people were
games
like,
in 27
oh my God,
days.
why are you resting him so soon? And it was the same thing in soccer, because soccer, there's a lot of running. Now that's something that's way different.
But you guys don't play every day.
There's a lot of running.
I'm not denying that.
Many, many miles, and you're playing a few times a week, and it's not every day, but overall, in the early parts of the season, that's what those first months are. It is load management. Yeah. You're not always overextending yourself because of the simple fact that you want to be ready for the longevity of the season. So I bring that up again because
these were scheduled.
That is how all sports are. The point is not to be undefeated and winning in April. Yes, that'd be great. Don't get me wrong. But the point is to have, as we're talking injuries, and we'll get there in a second, to have your guys healthy as the season progresses. Would you rather the Phillies be 9-0 right now and then burnt out in 3 months? Or would you rather them be hovering around 500 and long-term be fine? So,
I like the way they play their best baseball in August, September, and October.
I like that too.
I think that's a positive. Yeah.
And I do also like, on the reverse side, you cannot just put all your eggs in your starters' baskets. You need to get the Sosas, Merrifields, Paches. You got to get these guys going, keep them involved, because you might need them.
Sure.
The Braves weren't planning on Spencer Strider going down. The Yankees weren't planning on Gerrit Cole going down. You don't plan for these injuries. Even the Cardinals, and we'll talk a little bit more about that matchup for this series, they weren't planning on being without Sonny Gray for the first part of the season. He's like, I got to get back. He was just dealing with a hamstring.
He was just waiting for the Eclipse.
But, the Eclipse brought him back. So you have to get these guys involved and keep them involved.
Yeah, I mean, look, these were scheduled days off. Like, there's nothing to react to other than just like, it is what it is. They have 26 games in 27 days, after that day off last Thursday. So, like, it is what it is. It's fine. No complaints there. But, like, you need Trey Turner. Should we get back to the bad?
Oh, Trey Turner.
Turner and Nick. Well, at least Trey smoked one at the end of the game
He
yesterday.
did. And that
but
ball,
Nick and him both look kind of lost.
The ball had a 105.8. I had to write this down because it was wild. A 105.8 mile per hour exit velocity, a 22-degree launch angle, according to StatCast. Turner hit the ball at 106 miles per hour with a 23-degree launch angle. Baseball's typically in any other ballpark, that's probably a home run. And
it looked like one off the bat.
And he thought it was going to be. He was excited. He's like, why is he going for it? Why is Jesse Winker going for that ball? It's out of here.
Do you have the ballpark stats in front of you? Because I do love these.
Yeah.
How many parks it's not a home run in?
18.
18. Okay, that's more than I would have guessed.
Yeah,
12,
it would have been a ball.
of the 30.
I had the opposite. It would have been a home run in 12.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Including Citizens Bank Park. So if you're
Correct.
home, you're playing at home that day.
Oh, it's a home
Right.
run.
home run.
In 12 ballparks, that is a home run.
It's not
That's
a home run in
wild.
any of the stadiums you're playing this week, though. It's not in Busch and it's
I
not
would
in
have guessed
PNC.
maybe like a little more than half that would have.
And
But I
88%
was
of
wrong.
balls hit with those metrics result in at least a hit.
a double or
at
something.
Do you know what ballpark it would have been a home run in?
Great American Ballpark. Damn right, Tyler.
Everything's a
it
home
is.
run in Great American Ballpark.
But Trey,
Outside of that one hit, he looks lost. Nick looks lost. Like, I'm not saying anything drastic, like you need to bench either of those two, but they got to get going. Like, plain and simple. Like, and Rich Hoffman made an astute observation in his morning newsletter. And shout out to Jay, who said he's becoming a diehard today. We love you, Jay. But Rich in his morning newsletter, if you haven't subscribed to it yet, you should. AllPHLY.com. That's free. That's not even a diehard membership. But Rich said, and I agree with him, maybe Castellanos and Turner, they were the two biggest chasers last year.
Yeah.
And this offseason was about cutting down on the chase rate. I hope they'll come around and this isn't just them like sucking.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that this is a result of them working on their approach. And and they'll come out, light on the other side, Andy Dufresne, soon. So, like, it's the same thing with, like, Johan Rojas. You didn't want to send him down because you asked him to work on stuff.
Right.
And then when he struggles, you can't be like, pull the plug, which makes sense. Kind of same thing with Nick and Trey. It's like, all right, we really asked you to work on your approach and your cutting down on your chase rate. They're kind of doing that. Nick is struggling. But Trey has done that.
Yeah.
So, like, you kind of have to give him a little leeway to get hot again. So I think that was a good point by Rich.
Yeah, and that's something that Rob's kind of been alluding to in all of his comments, whether it was regarding base running or even just the overall offensive production, is they have been challenging these guys to change, make some minor tweaks, change up some things. And with that comes a learning period. And it's not going to happen overnight. And I'm with you on, like, I don't mind this if they're failing because they're trying something new and because they've been implementing some minor changes.
But what point do they revert back to their...
Exactly, and at one point does that also start to pay dividends and we see them producing. But Tyler, I see you typing away over there. I'm gonna let you hit on this.
Yeah, so that Trey Turner flyout you guys were talking about off of the bat of Turner. It was off of Kyle Finnegan, I believe, correct?
I think so.
Second highest
had
expected
the second
BA?
highest expected batting average in the game yesterday. The only one that was more was Lane Thomas' single off of Matt Strahm, the 880 expected batting average. Now, on the flip side, this shows you how cruel a game baseball can be sometimes. If you guys remember, Lane Thomas on the other side hit a ball about 6 feet that Alec Boehm just had to pocket because Thomas was hustling down the line and it was a tough play. He actually hit the ball. Yeah, it was 6 feet on the dot. It had an expected batting average of 0.50. He ended up with a base hit out of it. This is a cruel
Baseball's
game.
weird.
It's a cruel game sometimes.
Wild.
It is. And those things usually balance out. Like, what was the Trey Turner one? Or not Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, like a week ago had, it would have been a home run in 24 of the 30.
Of something like that.
And it was caught. And, like, these things at the course of a season, I hope, balance out. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, so with that, the Phillies, of course, as they dropped yesterday, we talked about the issues on the hitting side. Just 5 hits against the Nationals on Sunday, and the top 6 hitters, a combined 2 for 20 with 3 walks and 6 strikeouts. So not, as we're talking through it, we're not gonna be overly.
It's not the best baseball I've ever watched.
It's not. It's not great, actually. But it's a long, long season. Now, Barbara, I know you mentioned something about the Dodgers if the Phillies had a minor league system like the Dodgers, well, they made a move with the Dodgers this past weekend, and I know we all saw it, but if you missed it for any reason, Connor Brogdon was traded. The Phillies traded the right-handed pitcher to the Dodgers for left-handed pitcher Benoni Robles. And Robles comes over at 23 years old. He was 4-2 with a 3.86 ERA with Great Lakes last season. He struck out 53, walked 19 in 32 2/3 innings, struck out 38.7% of the batters he's faced, and in his 5 minor league seasons, Robles has had a 4.67 ERA, striking out 277, walking 134 in just over 250 innings. So he's moved to the Phillies. Of course, a minor league move, but
it's kind of Dodgers are one of those teams that have good success developing young players, and they probably see 2022 Connor Brogdon and go, yeah, give me that. I can help fix that. It's a good move. I mean, Connor Brogdon's got stuff. It's just the last 2 years kind of been a between the ears issue, I think, for him. He did lose a little velocity. But if I'm the Dodgers, it totally makes sense. Like if the Dodgers, Rays, Astros, or like one of those teams that develops young pitchers, grabs them, then he still probably has a chance. It's just not going to be here anymore.
Yeah. So after being DFA'd, then he gets traded. Some other news around the Phillies, just 2 updates on Orion and Taijuan. We'll start with Taijuan Walker. Saturday, he got some pitches in. He threw 46 pitches. Velocity was in the low 90s, but the focus right now is not on his velocity, but more on his movement and just getting him up in his pitch count. He did say he was feeling great and felt really positive about the outing. Rob and Caleb Cotham also said the same thing, and he actually was able to go a little bit longer. He was originally scheduled to do 2 up downs, was able to do 3
up downs,
and then also he is going to be.
I gotta laugh on my yoga joke. All right.
He is going to be delayed, though, so the Phillies are anticipating that as they're working him back, it'll probably be closer to May that Taijuan Walker is able to get back. Orion's timeline is also getting closer. This is supposed to be the week, guys. Orion did have his rehab appearance, as we know, Friday with the Clearwater, which we talked about Friday in our postgame show. Did go well in that 1 1/3 inning that he pitched. His fastball was around 97, 98 miles per hour, and he's expected to be activated in the series versus the Pirates. His return was marked for April 9th, but now they're saying they want to give him, throughout his rehab, give him a day of pitching, a day off, and then another day after that. So because they want him to have a pitch day, rest day, and pitch another day before he can rejoin the Phillies, he's now anticipated around maybe April 11th, but they're saying April 9th and 11th. So we should see him this weekend because today is already the 8th.
Well, if
we
Spencer
should see him
pitches
by
tonight,
the end of this week.
Like he did last time.
Right.
I don't think much of the fan base is going to be clamoring for take another week, Taijuan.
Yeah, no, exactly. Taijuan with that May return, people are not rushing back for that at all. But Orion, we're seeing April 13th as possibly like the latest, but maybe as soon as April 9th, which is tomorrow.
Did you read it? The 3 of the 4 batters the other night. He's going to bring a lot to this bullpen. Oh, yeah. He's going to stabilize it. And look, the bullpen I think has been mostly good. So. You know, you're going to make it stronger now. And
exactly.
It should be great,
So he is, and I know, DBDBF saying, is Orion really missing 3 weeks with the flu 6 weeks ago? And yes,
it's a pretty long time.
Jordan had the flu game and Orion had the flu year. But they really wanted to work him back to be able to have, again, he pitched 1 game, get a day off, and then pitch again, which is also what's prolonged his return.
Something to watch with him, he didn't throw it back-to-back at all last year.
No.
Did he do one in the playoffs?
Yes.
He did in the playoffs, but he didn't do it at any of the minor league levels or in the 8 appearances he made. That's something to see how they handle him this year. Maybe to your point of them taking their time with him, it was more about building the arm back up than it was clearing the lungs.
Yeah.
Because they're probably going to need him to you can't have a bullpen arm that can't throw on back-to-back days. Yeah. So maybe that's what the goal was there, to get his arm strong enough to go in a back-to-back.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I know the time just flew by, but we have to hit on the fact that
Spencer Strider, man.
We got to hit on the news around the injuries. We'll push Angel Hernandez. We can talk about him tomorrow.
We can complain about him every single night.
He's not going anywhere, sadly, anytime soon. Injuries continue to plague Major League Baseball, and most recently we heard the injuries around Spencer Strider He did have a visit with a Dr. Meister to learn if he's going to need a second Tommy John surgery. He underwent an MRI that revealed damage to his UCL in his right elbow, as I'm like clutching my right elbow weirdly.
We all know what's coming.
And he is going to be further evaluated with Dr. Meister again at a date yet to be determined. But Spencer Strider, another one that's hit the UCL Tommy John surgery list. We already know that there's been plenty of others. Now we have Dr. James Andrews, who works with a lot. He's a superstar doctor.
You never want to hear your superstar athlete is visiting Dr. James Andrews.
No,
That's
superstar Dr. James Andrews was actually speaking about the increase in pitchers in recent years and just saying how a big part of it is because of the dramatic evolution in the game to want to throw faster, and naturally how it just has been wearing on, pitchers' arms that they have needed to get Tommy John surgery.
Well, here's
not good though.
Here's the real issue. The human body is not meant to do what these guys do. And kids now, Tyler can probably speak to this as his dad coached. He played competitive baseball. Like, there's too much strain on kids' arms from an early age anymore, where they're throwing breaking balls that their arm shouldn't be throwing. They're trying to throw high velocity so they can get these college scholarships. By the time, they do get to college or get drafted, their arm is already taxed. Andrew Painter's a good example of this. Like, the human body is not meant to throw that motion 102 miles an hour and then go backdoor with like a 25 mile an hour changing vertical drop sweep. It's just too much. Like, I don't think the pitch clock has anything to do with it. I know the players union is trying to have the pitchers' backs in this. But like, I don't think that's the issue. I just think kids are blasting their arms before the age of 20, and it's just kind of an inevitability that it's going to happen. I don't think it's pitch clock related at all. And I know that MLB came out and said, well, we had our own study done by Johns Hopkins doctors, and we disagree with the MLB players union's findings.
Right.
This issue isn't going away because, like, the storyline, even Jeff Passan and, a ton are tweeting about it, like, oh man, 4 pitchers already down for the year. Like, this is kind of a problem. And, Shane Bieber was excellent in his 2 starts. Spencer Strider is one of the best pitchers in baseball. I don't know what to say about it. I don't think it's pitch clock or load related. I just don't think these old school pitchers came up through life throwing breaking balls at age 10 and 11 and trying to max out, into the 90s at age 14. So I just think there's too much strain on the body these days. Tyler, your thoughts?
I mean, as you're talking about, for the MLB PA to say that the shorter pitch clock is contributing to it, because we have seen Shane Bieber, Strider, Yankees had one, Loisaca, who has to have season-ending surgery. I said his name wrong. Jorge Castillo. There's been a number of injuries that have happened. I know, going back to Dr. James Andrews' comments, and just as you mentioned, he was mentioning, today's game, you see a lot of, in youth baseball, the injuries are starting. And by the time they get to Major League Baseball, they've already surpassed and thrown more at the youth level than they have, at the professional level, where kids are throwing 90 miles per hour their junior year of high school.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The velocity, the amount of focus on the curveball, and just overall the ligament itself not being able to withstand that. This is where, as the game is evolving and as pitchers, what they're throwing is evolving, you have to find a way to balance that, because the Tommy John ligament doesn't mature until about age 26, he was saying. And so that's another part of it, is like you're overextending yourself before your Tommy John ligament even has fully matured and reached the levels. Now, other sports, I know today's been a big sports crossover day. Other sports, such as soccer,
oh boy, here we
have implemented these rules at a young age. Concussions, for example.
Yeah, female concussions.
They've implemented rules at a young age to try to minimize concussions
There's no
at the youth
before,
level.
There's age 12,
bingo.
Right?
There's no headers before you're 12. They also don't even punt the ball until you're like 12 years old. And so there's been and then obviously in basketball, we've seen a change, definitely on the professional level with load management. Other sports are making changes to minimize these long-term injuries. The NFL's been making some changes. I know a lot of people complain about how soft the new rules are that the NFL's rolling out. It's to keep the players healthy. Major League Baseball needs to take a hard look at how they can keep these guys healthy, starting at the youth level, of minimizing this long-term damage that's being done to pitchers.
Yeah, Tyler, I'm curious your thoughts because your dad coach, you played in it.
I thought that Chris Bassett, he was on with I think it was with Talking Baseball not too long ago, and I thought he kind of articulated it well. Where I mean, obviously velocity's kind of taken over, and that's not a bad thing. And I think that we need to find a common ground, like a middle ground between, you know, velocity is everything, and these kids are throwing too hard too soon, because hitters have become more advanced as well in the way to keep up.
Do you think the year-round aspect of throwing is a problem?
No, I don't.
Because growing up, most kids played all sports. You know what I mean?
I don't.
That's the other
Now
thing.
it's everything specialized, and there's so much travel and like training and this and that, that I wonder if the year-round aspect on the arm and shoulder.
I do think there is the flat plane versus the perpendicular plane is significant, I think. And if you go and watch, you know, I don't want to say like go watch like 70s baseball, but like even if you go and watch like early 2000s, guys' arms are more perpendicular when they're at the point of release to where you watch some of these guys now. And I don't want to go all the way to Chris Sale, because Chris Sale is like a trebuchet basically, and that's like a scary rotation to begin with. But some of these guys are almost parallel to the ground when they're releasing, and it's like it's that strain on the elbow that just should not exist. And so I don't think it's velocity. I don't think it's spin rate. I think it's the way that these guys are throwing is the bigger concern to me.
The
now,
way
granted,
they're throwing is to achieve.
Is attributing. Yes, correct.
So it's all kind of the same.
But what I'm saying is I don't think there's like just you can throw hard and throw properly.
I have a question. I was going to say, is it partly, okay, did not play baseball, so I don't know, but I know in other sports I've seen this, where part of the reason why in soccer, for example, with concussions, or in basketball was more just like overuse injuries. Part of it was not being taught properly. Do you think it's this need to try to throw curveballs, fastballs, high velocity, and not fully being taught how? And just maybe kids overextend themselves too soon, trying to keep up with the Joneses and never really truly learning the mechanics of how to properly throw these pitches.
I think it's possible. I mean, you guys have heard me say plenty of times, one of my favorite sayings for pitchers or guys that are on the mound is there's a difference between a pitcher and a thrower. And I think some guys it takes, quite frankly, until they become professionals to stop being throwers, because a lot of these guys that throw ridiculously hard or have wicket breaking balls oftentimes are in fact the best player on their team, and maybe the best player in their league, their county, their conference in college ball, whatever the case may be. It does take until a professional setting to learn how to become a pitcher, because you were just out there like Ben Joyce in it and throwing 104 and basically just, being better than everybody else. So I do think that there is merit to the objective of learning how to pitch and learning how to properly use like body mechanics and fluidity to become a more consistent pitcher. And so I think it's not one thing. It's pick and choose. It's a little bit of this. It's a little bit of this. It's a little bit of this. And it's all coming together to probably say, somebody in the comments said like the human body is just getting to a point where this is the breaking point of how hard a pitcher can throw, that a grown man can throw, because we've not evolved any further to be able to do this.
Yeah.
It's probably, like you said, Renee, guys are not being taught the proper mechanics and fluidity structure to pitch well and pitch with longevity. I think there's a little bit of everything coming into play here. I'm not going to pinpoint one thing, but it is becoming somewhat of an issue.
Yeah, I would say so. In the faces of your two leading Cy Young candidates, Gerrit Cole and Spencer Strider, are gone. I mean, Gerrit Cole might come back. There's still
there
hope
is an
there.
update actually. He's
But I feel like whenever you say, "Oh, we're gonna give it some rehab and rest and approach," all you're doing is really delaying the Tommy John surgery. Now, I'm the guy that took Gerrit Cole in our fantasy league because it was round like 18, and I was like, "All right, at this point, I'm fine with like taking a chance that it does work."
Yeah.
But more often than not, when does it work?
I know.
Like,
I
never.
think part of the issue is, in addition to everything you guys have said, which is correct, Cleveland John made a good point in the chat about it's a problem across all sports where kids' bodies are being pushed harder and harder to the breaking point. I think for every Caitlin Clark getting offered $5 million by Ice Cube, Shohei Ohtani getting an incredible deferred contract to the Dodgers, every time we see these breaking sports news, I think, unfortunately, at the youth level is what it impacts the most. Because what we miss out on is, in order for these superstar athletes to become superstars, it took them time, and they got the chance to be kids, and they got the chance to also go out and play. And most of it was them playing for fun, you know, playing with their brothers or sisters or older kids or neighborhood kids. It wasn't this overly force structured, you're going to be the next LeBron. You're going to be the next, you know, Caitlyn or Asia Wilson or, you know, the next Messi. No, it was timing. And I think, unfortunately, because of social media and even the way that we have more resources now, like growing up for us, it was just, you go out and you just play. Now there's all types of different, like, structured things that are in place to make kids try to be the next superstar. And it's forcing them to have to grow up, and their bodies can't keep up. They're overextending themselves too long, because even as you mentioned, most kids, like I played soccer, basketball, I ran track. Say,
if one of my daughters ends up being Caitlin Clark level good, I'm still going to force them to play the other sports.
Because playing other sports even helps manage your different muscles you don't normally work on, gives you a time to
baseball's uniquely
balance.
different than everything else. And
I don't
the
think
arm
we're
isn't
seeing
meant
that.
to throw baseballs 130
Youth
miles
sports
an hour.
now, and I can say this as someone that's has worked in it, coached in it. Now it is more than even the collegiate level. You're playing year round, you're traveling all over, you're paying ridiculous money. It's a whole different topic in itself, but I think it's causing kids to be burnt out.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would bet you Spencer Strider has had a pitching coach since he was like 13.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't doubt it at all.
And it's because you hear...
And obviously it worked, but
that's the thing, you hear it.
You're just eventually going to get hurt.
And I think that's what it makes it a double-edged sword, because it does work.
Yes.
And you do see, okay, you know what? Serena Williams and Venus started young, and their dad pushed them, and it played out for them, and they ended up being, you know, some of the best athletes ever. And so I'm going to do that with my child, but it's not the same for every person. Your body, your physical makeup, your talent, you know, some of it is just natural, God-given ability.
Science to figure out, kind of. Like I don't know what you do. I think these UCL injuries are just going to be a part of the game now, because, like you just said, like the results are there. Like Spencer Strider's just like effortlessly pushing, you know, 100 miles an hour on his fastballs, and then, you know, the floor's falling out of his breaking stuff, and it's just like, unfortunately, your elbow is going to have to deal with the, you know, repercussions of how good you are. It's unfortunate, but I don't see how it changes.
I know. It essentially becomes survival of the fittest, of whoever can stay healthy and make it to the pros and actually be able to still play and stay healthy with that. As we talked about, though, you mentioned Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole is set to begin throwing this week. The Yankees did release that. Yeah, he started playing catch this week. He's continuing, of course, to rehab his right elbow. And Yankees manager Aaron Boone did tell reporters Sunday that he could begin throwing today or tomorrow. He has been placed on the 60-day IL, of course, as we know, prior to opening day, but they are starting to work him back. And then Justin Verlander's also been rehabbing. He's down in AAA.
I took him too.
Oh, wow.
I took all the old guys that are hurt.
The old...
Well, at some point in fantasy, they become worth the risk.
Justin Verlander did allow 6 runs and struck out 6 in his 4 innings that he pitched in his first injury rehab start Sunday for the Houston Astros AAA Sugar Space Cowboys team. So the 41-year-old's also working back. So yeah, there you have it.
41.
You made that team up.
No, that's their name.
You made that minor league team up.
No, it's the AAA Sugar Space Cowboys.
Yeah, of course they are.
That's what it says.
Sugar Sex Magic. That's an album.
It's a Red Hot Chili Peppers.
There you go. Tyler knows music. All right, Renee, before we get out of here, do you want to hear Tim?
It's the Sugar Land Space Cowboys. Okay, that makes more sense.
I mean, like, it's the same thing.
I thought you were just making something
Cowboy
up.
Magic.
Sugar Space Cowboys.
Yeah.
Why is your name 5,000 words?
Well, Sugar Land is where they're from.
No, I know that, but like, don't be the Space Cowboys.
Why not?
Houston space.
You don't like the you don't like the Rocket City Trash Pandas?
It's just too much.
You
already have Sugarland, so just be like the astronauts.
Well, for
Instead
a while,
of the Astros, be like astronauts.
For a while, I believe they may be 2 different teams, but there was they were the
Galaxy.
Sugarland Skeeters.
Skeet.
Skeet.
No, it was mosquitoes.
I was gonna say
Skeet.
Skeet.
And now they're the Sugarland Space Cowboys.
All right, do you guys want to hear the All Eclipse team, courtesy of Tim Kirkjian?
Oh,
the what?
The All Eclipse team.
Is this big boys that block out the sun?
No, that would be funnier. The All Eclipse team. Catcher, Fernando Lunar.
Wait,
Oh, okay.
First baseman, Sonny Jim Bottomley. Second baseman, Moon Mullen. Third baseman, Ray Knight. Shortstop, Alvin Dark. Outfielders, Jorge Soler, Wally Moon, and Sky Bolt. With pitchers, Sunwoo Kim and Ken Cloud.
Who?
Some of those
He
players.
missed Sonny Gray.
Some of those players were real.
He missed Sonny Gray. Come on, Tim.
I know.
Sonny Gray.
I know.
Is right
It's
there
a
for you.
layup for you.
But yeah, there's the all lunar team.
That's actually hilarious. There are a lot of names, I feel like, I mean, as you read, that do have some sort of like lunar-esque.
Is there any Phillies?
Jorge Soler. Huh.
I know Sunwoo Kim pitched for the Expos for a while.
Eclipse team is hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, let's make sure if anybody is going to look at the Eclipse, please be safe because we don't want you coming out with like an eye popping out of your knee or something. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll get into Angel Hernandez, and even there's more news about the City Connect uniforms and how they leaked. We'll have to talk about that later tomorrow because we've already gone over time. So for everybody, please enjoy the rest of your solar eclipse day. Be safe, have fun.
And the game tonight
is
Spencer Turnbull versus a guy whose name I say wrong every single time.
Go ahead, you can do it.
I think of Cousin Balky, and it screws me up. You guys don't even know Cousin Balky, do you? I just aged myself.
Wait, just no.
Miles.
Can you get the first name right?
Miles.
There you go. You're halfway there.
Mikolos.
No.
Mikolos.
Nope.
There's an A. Where'd you get the?
I say it wrong every time because of Cousin Balky. This is not a me problem. This is a perfect stranger's problem. All right, go ahead.
Michaelis.
Michaelos.
Michaelis.
Michaelis.
I was gonna say Mikolas, but
I always put
Michaelis.
extra stink on it. It's Cousin Balky's fault.
I feel like you
can't
don't
believe
actually
you guys
read.
don't even know perfect
I
strangers.
don't think you actually read the word because you're saying letters that are not there. Like, where are you getting los from?
I will Well, I should have said
LAS,
last. Clearly, but I'm still not going to get it right. I either mispronounce the K or the O and the A
in
or
the
the
chat,
L.
WYRM 139 got your perfect strangers.
Yeah,
comment.
I mean, Cousin Balky screwed me up.
What is perfect strangers?
Oh,
It's a show.
did you know it at least?
I know the show, yeah.
Okay.
No.
Cousin Larry?
But it's Michaelis.
I know. Okay.
Cousin Larry.
Oh man! Wow. Yeah.
Mikolas.
Came out in 1986. I remember that.
Yeah, sure you do.
I do. Like it was yesterday. What a time.
Sorry, it's not SpongeBob.
That's what I grew up on.
I am aware.
All right, but yes, Spencer Turnbull.
Wait, did you have TGIF? Did you guys grow up in the TGIF?
The
era?
restaurant?
Oh God.
Wait, that was a show? Seriously?
Friday nights? TGIF? Perfect Strangers? I don't know if that ever eclipsed.
No.
But it was Step by Step, Full House.
Step by Step. I did like
Friday
I watched
night,
that.
they had a four-
Wait,
they had a
that
four
was not
show-
called TGIF?
Yeah, it was TGIF.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Because I used to watch Step by Step and Full House. And what else was in TGIF?
What else was in there?
Now that was me. That was my
Oh, it was so good. That was peak TV, man.
Step by Step was I actually kind of like remember
Was Boy Meets World on
song.
that too?
Oh, I loved Boy Meets World.
They had
Topanga.
It was usually 4 bangers in
Corey.
a row. It did alternate some shows here and there.
You know, there's a channel you can watch 90s shows on. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, it's called Nick at Night these days.
No. But it has like Sister, and all the shows that like I used to watch.
Who was it? It was Dinosaurs was on
if it's
TGIF.
Step by Step, was it Seventh Heaven? Heaven?
No.
Oh, I used to
Jessica
love that
Biel, though. What up?
I used to love that show too. But I don't think that was it Family Matters?
Yeah, Family Matters was a part of it. Step by Step was a part of it.
So then Step by Step, Family Matters, Boy Meets World, and you said it was the other one was
Well, there was different time periods of TGIF. Anyway.
I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah.
But I used to enjoy that.
Oh yeah, TGIF.
Oh, Bomber one. Thank you. I just got lumped in with Topanga.
Oh wow.
I'll take that compliment. any day.
Topanga. They have a Boy Meets World
Thank
podcast
you.
these days.
I know.
It's wild.
Wow.
But yeah, TGIF.
Insane.
Pizza night and TGIF with like a little Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis.
Oh,
That
now
was-
you're talking.
That was peak living, baby.
Oh, the days when life was so simple back then.
it really
All
was.
right, well, that was a fun trip down memory lane. I loved those shows. Cosby Show, pre-Cosby issues. Boy Meets World. It's a different world. I still love that show too. We could have a whole chat about this. This could take us a whole other hour. That being said, though, guys, we're not going to keep you a whole other hour. It's been fun chatting with you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button because this trip down memory lane has been a fun one. it's been an interesting start for the Phillies season, but don't worry, they're ahead of the timeline of last year. Another day, another game today. Spencer Turnbull getting the start. I haven't officially seen a starting lineup yet. I didn't get the notification yet. But, of course, I'm sure the lineup will be pretty similar to what we've seen, maybe some minor tweaks.
Yeah, Marsh will be back and all the guys. It'll be
Brandon Marsh, hopefully the usual consistent suspects remain consistent. And Kyle.
Did I do it?
Michaelis.
No, Michaelis.
Myco.
Damn you, cousin Balky.
Like Myco. Polo.
Michaelis.
Michaelis.
No, Michaelis.
Baki Baltakamus.
Slum wants to do a 2-hour show.
Miles Michaelis.
Miles Michaelis gets to start for the Cardinals down in baseball heaven.
I know that one. It's not
job.
really going to get me far in life.
You're doing great, JB. I'm
You're gonna be great tomorrow. And Zach Wheeler versus Zach Thompson.
That's going to be tough.
You can't mess that one up.
When's Balky Baltakamus pitching?
I guess tonight, apparently, according to you.
Is it wrong that whenever I see his name, I think of Balky, cousin Balky? Is that weird?
No.
Okay.
I'll give you that one. That's a normal one.
All right.
So Jamie's going to be barking like a dog, peeing on a tree today for the solar eclipse.
Looking right at the sun.
Looking right at the sun.
Getting in touch with my inner nature. We're all animals.
You're going to get possessed by an alien or something, I feel like. You're going to come back tomorrow as an alien.
I'm kind of excited to see what this is all about.
I am too. Are you really going to look at the sun?
No, I have glasses. And it's...
Not these glasses.
No, we have 2 pairs at the house. And my one should be napping during it.
Okay.
So me and Skylar will go watch it with the glasses on.
Okay. That's fair.
Our rooftop here is perfect viewing.
I know. I need to go see it.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Glad you enjoyed hanging with us on this Monday. We're back again live tomorrow at 11 a.m. We do have 2 post-game shows this week, Wednesday and Thursday. Back to back, we'll be bringing you some post-game discussion around the close of the St. Louis series and much more here on PHLY Phillies podcast. So for Tyler, Jamie, myself, Renee, have a marvelous Solar Eclipse Monday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, 11 a.m. sharp for more. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.